regular meeting of the Hazel Park Board of Education, March 27th, 2017 meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
No.
Here.
Hinton. Here. Mr. Hempel.
Here.
Hammonds.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Mrs. Hempel.
Here.
Schlock.
Here.
Please stand. Mr. Pastor Barry David with Landmark Community Church will deliver the invocation, and then that will follow with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for your blessings and favor in our lives. Thank you for great strides in improvement in finances, student enrollments, grade achievements, and college-bound graduates. We're grateful for the Hazel Park High School basketball championship season. We thank you for our students of the month. We thank you for the leadership of our superintendent, her staff, and his Board of Education. Continue to lead them and unify and move the district forward. We ask for peace in our schools. May you help protect our students and our teachers. For these proceedings tonight, we ask for unity and focus. And may all that is accomplished be according to your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Moves us on to the approval of the agenda. Motion on the table.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel.
Yes.
Hammonds.
Yes.
Hinton.
Yes.
Atkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel.
Yes.
Schlock.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Moves us on to item A under special order of business, our students of the month. The board members, please go in front of the table. Dr. Kupi.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited, and for those of you that came in a little bit later, we're doing this month's Student of the Month a little different than before. We will be visiting the schools and doing some videotaping at the schools throughout the next several weeks, and so we'll be excited to surprise visit the students into your classes and doing some videotaping of you there in your home environments to celebrate this month's perseverance. Perseverance is the ability and self-control to push through your challenges. And we know we all have different challenges in different ways, and we have to persevere through them, whether that is a challenge in the classroom or that is a challenge through something that's happening at home or a challenge through something that's happening in the halls. But we all have different perseverances. And having a perseverance means that you're facing a challenge, you use your mind and your body to overcome it. It means you're able to wait and work through difficulties, whether they have to do with your mind, your body, or your emotions. And we have a lot of wonderful students, and if you look at the board packet, you'll be able to see the wonderful things and the reasons that their school has recommended them to be persevering this year or this month in their school. So what's going to happen now is we're going to call the students up one by one and ask them to come up and receive their certificate and then shake hands with each of the board members. So we're really excited that you could come this month. It's an honor, and we congratulate each and every one of you. Christy Gardner, Hoover Elementary School. Lily Culture. Karan Walker. Kyron, come here, buddy. Kara Moore, United Oaks. Diamond Norton. United Oaks. Jared, and I'm going to leave that with an R, United Oaks. Tell me how to say that last name.
It's Rizamdi.
Wow, that's pretty good. Jaden Kelly White, Webb Elementary School. Jaden Page, Webb Elementary School. Skylar Zach, Webb Elementary School. Chesney Adams, Hazel Park Junior High. Daisy Duke, Hazel Park Junior High. Benjamin Timmick, Hazel Park Junior High. Genevieve Johnson, Hazel Park High School. Natalie Perini, Hazel Park High School. Mandy Wardrop, Hazel Park High School. Sherry Larson, Hazel Park Alternative High School. Theodore Simpson, Jardin. Is Diamond Norton here from United Oaks? How about one more big round of applause for all the parents and the students of the month. We know that our students couldn't do it without the support of all you wonderful parents as well. So the next step, Then we also take the opportunity to have our peers nominate our certified employees of the month, and this month we have a tie. Miss Carla Kenyon and Gordon Pogue. And Gordon couldn't be with us this evening, so Carla, you have to come and stand up here all on your own. Come on up. So I had an opportunity to view a video over the weekend, and I watched Mrs. Kenyon do one of these with the kids, circling around this way in the hall, dancing with the kids as they exited the day. And so not only does she greet, but she exits students at the door in the, every morning. And it says, with a song or a dance and Fun Fact Mondays. Was that Fun Goodbye Fridays?
No, we sing, no, please, Dr. Krupping, no. Heavens, no. No, what we have is have a good weekend. And see, there's a little bit more to it than that. It's have a good weekend, have a good weekend, have a good weekend. And then the big finish is cha-cha-cha. And as the students come out, they can either be part of the cha-cha-cha, which means this.
That's what I saw.
But if they don't want to, they do this. And so, but if they do cha-cha-cha, sometimes some people will like linger to wait for the cha-cha-cha. So it's, I went to college.
I definitely saw that on the videotape that I was looking at for totally other purposes, but it was adorable. I did see that. So, and I could read the rest of this, which I will do, but that was much better than reading it. So, she creates and supervises our Patriot Trading Post every Wednesday morning and after school, where our students can turn in their PBIS tickets for food, school supplies, and other special boutique items. Anything about that?
Well, oink. The kids collect PBIS tickets for a variety of reasons. And it might be because they followed one of our 3 respect, responsible, and safety points that our junior high focuses on. Or it might be for something that a teacher has seen in the hall or another staff member. And so the students are in these gold PBIS tickets. So on Wednesday mornings and after school, they have the opportunity to come and turn those in for, like Dr. Kruppe indicated, food, our top-selling chip, Flaming Hot Cheetos, and some other items. So we also have a boutique table that has nothing short of wonderful treasures that the students are able to pick from, and they really get a big kick out of it. And I send out a notice every Tuesday so that they know what's available and what's coming up. Lately, a very popular item is the full-length Pixie stick.
So let's just say we are very blessed and fortunate. She's an amazing part of the Hazel Park Junior High staff, and we all know that and see that all the time at Hazel Park Junior High. Thank you for all you do. And we want to make sure that we also give accolades to Gordon Pogue because he's a fabulous teacher at the high school. So let's make sure that we also give those accolades. Mr. Pogue is a hardworking, compassionate teacher. In addition to his regular duties and also being an advanced placement teacher, Mr. Pogue facilitates the credit recovery, registering, monitoring, and maintaining records. He also actively is involved in the summer school program. And Mr. Pogue is an excellent colleague, always willing to collaborate and assist in the newer teachers. And we always see him with a smile on his face. And I know that when I've been able to visit in the high school and be in his classes, they are absolutely fantastic. As a matter of fact, when I was over there this morning and students were late, I said, I would like to go to his class. So if you don't want to get there, I absolutely would like to go into his classes. So let's give another round of applause to Mr. Pogue because he is absolutely a wonderful teacher. We also take the opportunity to make sure that we also recognize our non-certified employees. And Chris Vanetta is sending her love to everyone today. She is over getting ready for her young early childhood kids for tomorrow, cleaning the building at Webster. So let's give her a round of applause. While being a dedicated custodian for children at staff at Webster, Chris's heart is with the children. She has developed relationships with the latchkey children in the afternoon latchkey program. She talks with them and listens to their stories. Chris is helpful to everyone. She takes pride in keeping the classrooms clean for her babies. Anytime I ask for her for something or to do something, she is quick to deliver. She can be counted on to remain calm in an emergency situation. She is friendly to everyone, respectful, and fun. We are so fortunate to have Chris in our building. We are really lucky to have the custodians and maintenance staff, and especially Chris, on our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krupe. This is on to item C, introduction of our new school resource officer, Xavier Piper. And I've seen him around here. Will you please come to the front of the room, please, Mr. Piper? Oh, here he comes. Dr. Krupe. Yeah.
So we are pleased to announce after Officer Pence's retirement, our new school officer, Officer Piper, who will be joining us in all of our buildings. He will have a office in the junior high, in the alternative school, and in the high school, so that he will be in all three of the buildings. He's getting himself acclimated. And in the next couple days, we'll be taking him around to introduce him to the elementary students and the early childhood students as well. He's already made a great transition here with us, and we're really, really excited to have him in our buildings. And so I don't know, would you like to say a few words about yourself? Welcome.
Thank you. I've been with Hazel Park Police Department 16 years this November. I'm looking forward to this as a different adventure in the police department. Recognize a lot of faces out here in the community, a lot of people in the school that I've worked with, a lot of staff, a lot of the students, so I'm looking forward to it.
Transition through.
Yeah. We're going to move on to our My Excel presentation. Thank you, Officer Piper, and welcome to our family. We're going to do the My Excel presentation. If there's any parents who have students of the month that would like to leave, we'll delay a little bit while you exit. Or if you want to stay for the entire meeting, that's fine as well. Just going to give an option. I know some people might be making it home for dinner a little early. We appreciate you being here.
And this might be when, if they wanted to grab the soccer girls, if they want to come in at this time.
Okay.
You want me to grab the soccer girls?
Okay. Yeah, and she said just coming up. So we'll make a transition and looks like we
Like I gave up restaurants and drive-thrus, right? So it's like, wait.
Is it your dinner, Chuck? Oh, I'm like 3 of them.
I'll have one now and I have one in the
Yeah. Pacing yourself.
Okay, our meeting tonight that we didn't have. That's what I found out today. I thought, I said, I don't remember the meeting. Okay, I didn't even see it. I looked, I didn't find it. I thought, okay.
One of the outstanding things on that committee will be looking at, thank you for your one of the standing items.
There are a few chairs up front here. A few chairs. Okay. Looks like everyone's kind of settled in. There are a few more chairs up front here. It's okay. We don't bite. We will. Most of them have. Okay. Are you ready, Mr. Chandler and Mrs. Mahoney? All right. Please welcome both of our consultants for the Mike Cell Turnaround Blueprint, Mr. Grant Chandler and Miss Kathy Mahoney. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. So, if you don't recall who we are, what we do, my name is Grant Chandler, and I am with a colleague of mine, Kathy Mahoney. We are, I'm the project director, and she is one of the assistant directors for MyExcel, the statewide system of support. And what our job is we, during the day, we support approximately 155 school districts that have been identified as having Title I funded priority or focus schools. That's what we normally do. We, in this district, are supporting you in the installation of the blueprint. And so I'm really excited to be able to be back here. I can't even remember how long it's been since we updated you, to share with you some of the great news of the great work that you're doing, and to share what many, many people in the state are actually saying about the Hazel Park School District, and then to share briefly some comments about where we think you are in the process, why you're doing such an amazing job, and what we will predict for the future. So, as you recall, approximately a year ago, this district decided that how it was currently operating and the number of students that were being successful was at a level that was unsuccessful and was something that would no longer be accepted in the school district. And so about January of 2016, this district began the installation of the blueprint. We'll talk briefly, very briefly, about what it is, and more importantly about the work. But here's what's really happening that I think you need to be really proud of. When we leave and travel around the state, we are often asked questions about what Hazel Park School District is doing for children. So not only are you doing great work in this school district, but you are becoming a beacon of light and hope for children across the state, in both high-performing and low-performing districts, who recognize and see the value of what you're doing for urban children in your district. It's very, very likely that we would go 20 minutes down the road and someone would say, tell me what Hazel Park is doing, because what they seem to be doing is absolutely amazing, and we want to copy some of the efforts that Hazel Park is doing. I think it's important for you to recognize that. What is happening in this district is not only recognized by your district colleagues in other districts, it's being recognized by the Department of Education. Dr. Krupe was recently invited to speak on behalf of the Blueprint and the Blueprint installation to a group of folks at the department. And that work has also been recognized in the Office of Field Services and even by the Department of Treasury. not only all of the good work around the blueprint, but everything else that's happening in terms of your financial health is being recognized. But it doesn't matter how healthy we are financially if students are not being successful. And the beauty of the work that you're doing is you are not only moving in a positive trajectory for your financial health, which other people will talk about that have far more expertise in that than I do, but what you're doing on behalf of all children is something that most districts in this state are not yet able to do. As a state, we rank almost dead to the last in terms of student achievement in the country. Districts like Hazel Park will change that. So we're gonna share a little bit now about what this is, how it's installed, and then we have some other comments for you. I'll turn it over to Ms. Modi for just a moment. Sure.
Good evening. So just a reintroduction to the blueprint and understanding that this graphic that you see before you is kind of at its simplest form, designed to support districts in systemic reconfiguration. So Dr. Krupe has been leading a small group of people, your district turnaround network, on a weekly basis, bright and early on Tuesday mornings, I believe, every week with looking at building and installing systems. So what we're really going to highlight today with looking at where you're at in installation is in that the top purple oval there with a district underneath the district turnaround network, those 4 district systems. We're going to talk about where you're at in regards to the installation of those 4. And then in the center there, all 3 of those driver systems you have built and installed at this point. So we'll make sure that we highlight where you're at with those 3 driver systems. And then you've gone down into that building level now. We'll talk about that with your building turnaround networks and then districts leveraging principals leveraging district systems, and then starting to dabble and move into that instructional leadership routines and teacher collaborative routines. So I think that, so here, before you'll see, if you remember, if you're up late at night studying the process of installation, like I know many of you do, when we first started this work, we actually had the installation broken into 4 phases. We called those phases the launch, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So that might ring a bell for you. As you see in front of you, we've changed the names of those installation phases, and we've taken 4 levels of installation or phases of installation and broke it into 5. So the exact same amount of work, but what has happened is you'll see that we come in when Dr. Krupe invites us to do a fidelity appraisal to see, so where is Hazel Park in relation to what the intent was behind the installation of the blueprint. So at each one of these phases, at the end of that phase, our team comes in to do a fidelity appraisal. So we noticed that first phase, so the phase right after the launch, was far too long to go without giving districts feedback. So we knew that we needed to break that up. So that's why we went from 4 phases to 5. So now we have the mechanical level, and if you've seen any of our images, we really go to this skyscraper visual to help understand as we build and install these systems. We really talk about them in the various levels and floors. So the mechanical level, lobby level, and then into the mezzanine level is where we're really going to highlight, because the work, that's where you're at as a district. So we've come in and done a fidelity appraisal around the mechanical level, and that is exactly why we termed it the mechanical level, because that's really about all of the laying the groundwork, those first floors of 3 of the district systems, developing your district turnaround network. So when Dr. Krupe started with this work and leading in January of 2016, she developed that team, and then they built and installed 2 of the driver systems, which are the problem-solving driver system and communication driver system. So as you may have noticed, or maybe you even have those, the badges that were created to help remind everyone around the communications protocol, and how do we ensure that we're communicating across the district in a very cohesive manner, so we can try to minimize the amount of uncertainty there is within the district because of the need for more communication. And then along with those 2 driver systems, the ground floors were built and installed for 3 of the district systems, which are your talent management your instructional infrastructure, and the Intent student support network. So as you can, I'll let Grant then jump in and explain just as far as the fidelity appraisal and why you see the different colors here, and then ultimately leading to that highest level of fidelity in this particular phase.
So the rubric that we use is incredibly tough because we really want to make sure that we are calibrating the work the way that the blueprint was intended to do. What you see here is the Hazel Park in the mechanical level has received the highest level of fidelity possible. This is in fact the highest score we've given to anybody in the entire state of Michigan. All right, kudos to you. Okay, kudos to you. And while we believe you are doing outstanding work, right, you'll notice with the areas that are highlighted in yellow that there's still a little bit of work that we need to continue to do in this particular phase. But many of the districts that are doing this work really struggle. I mean, let's be honest. The systems that have been in place or not been in place in public education have been around for 150 years. To change them is incredibly difficult. It requires a tremendous amount of courage and talent and hard work on behalf of your superintendent, on behalf of you, your other leaders of the district, and teachers. Because as we reconfigure the way we do business in Hazel Park, that's hard work, right? And so this rating that you receive here, I'm really, really proud to share it with you because you are doing some outstanding work. Okay, you have defined very clearly what adult competencies we need to build in the district in order for all children to be successful. We have defined what we mean by the highest quality of subject-specific instruction that is imaginable, and we've defined what it really means if we build a student support network that is so strong that we've created a ferocious unwillingness to allow a child to fail. That hasn't happened anywhere yet in the state, and that's something that I think Hazel Park will be one of the first to do. So in this mechanical level, you have done really, really good work. This is the highest level that that we have awarded so far. Very, very proud of the work that you're doing, but that doesn't stop, right? Not only are you doing great work, you're also leading the way, and you're one of the farthest along as well. In the second level, we really do some more specific and even harder work than we did in the mechanical level. And you'll see, I'll have Kathy talk briefly about what some of those things are, what are some of your accomplishments, and then I'll come back and tell you again that you have the highest level of fidelity for the state of Michigan.
Once the groundwork is established within that mechanical level, you'll see there at the top that you continue to revisit that. So that work happens on a monthly basis through the performance management driver system. And Dr. Krupe meets with her principals, with your principals, on a monthly basis to determine how's the installation of these systems, how's it working for them in the building, what are the barriers, what are the challenges, what are some supports that they need, then moving into that leadership network, which is that partnership between central office, key instructional leaders, and building leaders. I had a principal actually stop me on our way in just to talk about just his enthusiasm and excitement of the work that he's doing with his central office partner around the visions for high quality instruction and going into classrooms and seeing that and learning what does that really look like, how do we support teachers and how do we support principals, and that really comes into play in that leadership network with the partnerships that are in place. That then have supports. I'm going to jump down to the building turnaround network because each one of the buildings in the district has a team of people, just the same as at the district level. There's a district turnaround network. There's also a building turnaround network in each building that is ensuring that the systems that are being built at the district level are actually making their way into their buildings. Otherwise, what's the point? And then looking at student achievement data on a monthly basis that's directly aligned at the K-5 level to curriculum and assessments that have been written by some phenomenal educators here in Hazel Park. So one of the biggest pieces I want to highlight and just scream from the rooftops, honestly, is that Hazel Park School District has brought in the people from your district that are engaged in some intense work around building curriculum that aligns to their vision, to your visions for high quality instruction. And so at the elementary level in both ELA and science, that means that there are assessments, there are resources for teachers, there are instructional targets that are determined along with supports for teachers to actually have students achieve at the highest level. All of that is monitored on a monthly basis through that performance management driver system. So significant work happening in a relatively short amount of time around this second phase of installation, which is the lobby level.
And again, not only is Hazel Park the first district that would receive this fidelity appraisal, so it's led the way, but it also has received, again, the highest level of appraisal that we can possibly give. So in the first 2 phases of installation, Hazel Park receives the highest level of fidelity. I think we have to congratulate you, your amazing superintendent, your principals and teachers for all their hard work. This is really hard work to be able to do this work and to do it this well. So first I want to say congratulations to all of you. The work, however, doesn't end here, right? We have 3 other levels of installation to make sure that Hazel Park is reconfigured in such a way that no matter who comes into this district as a student, that we're able to meet their academic and non-academic needs that they would present. As we think and move forward, there are some really difficult things that lie ahead. We have to figure out what it means to meet the social and emotional health and nutritional needs of every child who comes into this district. That means that instead of punishing students when they make errors or when they make mistakes, we have to figure out why those things happen and help them restore peace to what they've done, right? We'll be looking at restorative practices at PBIS, certainly where there will be a traditional student code of conduct as well, but we really need to think about how we support those non-academic needs of students. As important as instruction is, meeting those non-academic needs is really going to be where this district is going to be able to sustain the high levels of student achievement that it is searching for. By fall of next year, we will have K-12 curriculum in the 5 targeted areas approved at the district level and ready to be implemented in classrooms across the district. You'll be the first that won't be able to stand up and say that's even a possibility, right? And so there will be a few others that are working with you, other districts, but that is huge to have curriculum and assessments, K-12, in reading, writing, math, social studies, and science that are aligned to those visions of high-quality subject-specific instruction. And when we combine that with how we're going to meet the needs, those non-academic needs of students, the sky's the limit, right? The sky's the limit for where this district can be. So I want to just leave you with 2 thoughts. First, I want to thank the adults in this organization because this is really, really hard work. There are some of us who love change, and there are some of us who freak out, right, when we start changing things. And this district is changing a lot of things rapidly. And that means that there are adults in the district who are going to get uncomfortable, right, as things start to happen as quickly as possible. But think about it. We're changing those things so that your students can be successful. And we need to support our adults as they move along that continuum to being very comfortable, right? And I also want to just echo how really important it is that you support the adults in the district as they continue to do this hard work. Thank you very much. Do you have questions that we can answer for you at this point?
Will you be able to get this presentation? Yeah, right? That's really great news. Laura and I sat on many of those district turnaround network meetings, and it is hard work. It's nitty-gritty. It's realigning those systems and that processes. And unfortunately, here in our district, we haven't had that for very many years. So putting things like that in place is still a struggle.
We commend your district for the courage it takes to do that work. And thank you for being a beacon of hope for every other district in the state who watches what you're doing and recognizes that it is possible to meet all of the needs that students have when they come to school.
Thank you for working with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moves us on to to student reports. Destiny Baldwin. Here she comes. Alternative high school. Hi, Destiny.
Hello. So recently at Hazel Park Alternative High School, we just finished our PRC, which is Pride, Respect, and Cooperation. So what we did is 1 week we focused on pride, and in a classroom we would talk about pride and what it means to our students. We would also ask them to write on a Post-it note, like what are they proud of or what brings them the most pride, and we would stick them out in the hallway. We would also do that with respect the next week and cooperation the week after that. And we also recently, last week on Thursday, we had a potential graduation meeting where we talked about info about prom, caps and gowns, talked about t-shirt designs for the seniors, and we also told the students if they needed help applying for colleges, they can talk to Jen, and a few students have done so, including myself. We are also doing mentoring at the Advantage side and the elementary side of the alternative schools, where kids help the teachers wherever they need, and they help kids with their academics, and they also help build relationships between the high school side and the Advantage side and the high school side and the elementary side. So maybe we can help those kids get out into like a normal elementary school, or back to the junior high, so they don't have to stay and go through the entire cycle, their entire education career. And after spring break, we are preparing for the SATs, so our students can take the SATs. They stay after school, and they, the teachers will take time out of their day to help the students study for it. And our LINKS program is still going really strong. So I think we're doing it again next term. So that's what's going on the alternative side. Any questions?
I think it's fantastic. Nice. Yes.
Where are you planning on going to college?
I'm planning to go to OCC for 2 years just to get my general education down. And then I'm going to go to Rochester College for Christian Education to become a teacher and a junior and a youth pastor.
That's awesome.
Any other questions?
No, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
DeCoriana Cooper, our high school.
Good evening, everyone. We have a full house tonight. Okay. Here are some Hazel Park High School updates. Our building received the Cardinal Award from Michigan College Access Network. Ms. Kayla Roney Smith and our college advisor, Musa T, accepted the award on Hazel Park High School's behalf. Kudos to us once again. Prom tickets went on sale earlier today, and starting price was $65, but the price will increase as we get further to the event. And lastly, Decision Day is coming up in May. Date is still to be determined. For our class 2017, they will be recognized and will share their plans after high school. And that is all I have for you guys today.
All right. All right. Did anyone have any questions for DeCoriana? I know she goes up there and comes back really quick. No? Okay. All right. Mrs. Scott is grabbing the book for public comment this evening. We do have a policy about public comment, which I'm going to read since we do have a large number of people choosing to speak tonight. So each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes during duration. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to a staff or other participants. And all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer, and no person may address or question board members individually. We are here to listen. We are here to help solve problems. Please use this time to speak collaboratively, respectfully, and constructively. I cannot stress that enough. Last meeting, we did have some people speak out of emotion, and we do understand that that does happen. But if we can keep it to concise, respected, constructive comments, this board and administration has done nothing but try to be proactive with solving our problems, and we do know what they are.
So first up we have Lori Kendorski.
Good evening, my name is Lori Kendorski. Going back to their presentation here about the behavior things and the corrective nature, I want to speak on behalf of Tammy Scholes and Jeremy Gold at the junior high. My son has run into some behavior problems, some of them brought upon himself, sometimes thinking that he can do your jobs better than you, solving problems and jumping in where it's not necessary, and I have to always remind him they get paid, you don't. Let them do their job. With that being said, there's been a few times that I've received. First time was a telephone call to tell me there was an incident, it was dealt with, he needed to watch what he was doing. Next time around, it was a phone call, a letter, and a notice of detention. Another occurrence, phone call and a detention. Once again, hello, Mr. Gold, what is it today? So we go through the whole conversation and he's like, can you come and pick him up? I said, no, I can't. He says, well, we need to discuss his behavior. Can you come tomorrow? I said, no, I can't. It's the day before a holiday. If I am not here for my full scheduled shift, I will lose my holiday pay and I just really can't afford that. So he says, well, what are we gonna do? I said, how long are you there? He says, 4:30. I said, great, I'll see you at 4, keep him until I get there. Upon arrival, we sat with my son, had a discussion. Mr. Gold suggested, how about a daily reporting? This will make you accountable. Of course, he rolls his eyes and, Mom, this is horrible. I said, it's not to punish you, it's to keep you in check. When you're looking at a logged record of what's happening, you can see where your problems are occurring. If it's always after lunch, why? If it's always in the same classroom, why? So we went through this for probably 2 or 3 months, and his behavior significantly improved. All of the outbursts and the drama and all of the things he was going through significantly improved. So he's like, do I have to keep doing this? I said, until we can all agree that you're in a place that you don't need to, yes, we're gonna keep doing this. So Mr. Gold and my son had a conversation and he called me and says, I think we're ready to let him go. My request as a parent, being that we are accountable for our children and everything starts at home, I said, please give him the option that if he feels like he's struggling, that he can come back to either you or me and say, hey, I need to go back to doing this again because it really helped. Because he did say it made a huge difference for him. So at that point, Mr. Gold and my son had a conversation. He dismissed him from it, and as far as I know, my phone has not rung. So it is working. It may not be the easiest. It may not be the choice path that you want to take, but we have to accept that sometimes our kids are not perfect, and they learn what we teach them. They see what we do, and they do what we do. And sometimes they see what others do, and they do that as well. But we have to work together with the administration to fix those problems. We can't expect them to do it for us, but we can't do it on our own either.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kara Martin.
Hello, I'm Kara Martin and I'm here to represent the girls soccer team on an incident that happened about a week ago. To the Hazel Park Board and Administration, we as the girls soccer players feel that the punishment facing Mr. Dixon is not warranted. What started as Mr. Dixon trying to protect the soccer players and the track team from harm escalated to an unfortunate incident. Mr. Dixon made multiple attempts to ask Mr. Barrett to move his track team members from active soccer play. These requests were ignored until Mr. Dixon approached Mr. Barrett to keep him from yelling across the field. These requests were met with hostility and vulgarity. Mr. Dixon was still attempting to be respectful, even when faced with anger. After multiple years of dedicated coaching, it is a travesty that his job may be affected. We believe that he has an impeccable record and has helped many students and players reach their potential on and off the field. After 20 years of dedicated and service, along with multiple years of coaching, we feel it's unnecessary that he have to make amends for any perceived wrongdoing. We feel that he acted respectfully and responsibly and that he was not in the wrong. Please take our thoughts and considerations into account with regard to any formal action that may be taken concerning Mr. Dixon. Sincerely, Girls Soccer.
Lynn Sterner.
Hi, I'm Kara Sterner. I'm a senior captain on the girls varsity soccer team. I'm following the same lines as Kara. I just have to say that we love our coach. He is what HP is about. Mr. Dixon has good morals, character, and he always leads by example. He always represents his community with respect because he loves HP. Mr. Dixon is proud to be a part of the HP staff and especially proud to be our coach. He did nothing to deserve a punishment as he was embarrassed and disrespected in front of numerous students. Mr. Dixon defended not only himself, but his team as well. In all of Mr. Dixon's 20 years, he has not once had an issue and should be praised rather than punished for his hard work and dedication. The soccer team has always carried themselves with modesty and represents HP with class. For these reasons, we believe that Mr. Dixon should not be penalized for his actions to protect the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Caitlin Meacham.
My name is Caitlin Meacham. I'm a varsity goalie. I have been for 4 years, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the girls soccer team. I was there and witnessed the whole incident. I was actually with Dixon the whole time, so I would just like to ask if you guys have any questions about the situation or anything.
Unfortunately, we are not able to ask any questions. This is a personnel matter.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and you know, we do hold high expectations for our students, and we appreciate you being here, and our staff. But we are going to support the decisions that our administration has made after their investigation. So if there's anything that you have else to share, please share that with Dr. Krupe or another administrator.
No, I think we've said pretty much everything. She did meet with us in the meeting that us girls had after school one day, and we did tell her that there have been numerous threats to us girls soccer players from the track girls regarding the whole situation. We weren't sure if it was like the coach was egging it on or anything, but we just kind of felt that I know there was a couple girls on the sidelines who were moved to other places because the girls were screaming and yelling at us.
Okay. Dr. Krupe, you wouldn't mind following up with a...
And I have asked the girls to share any names that they're aware of.
Okay.
And they also could confidentially use the bullying website to share any names and information that they have with the administration of the building
Yes.
so that they can follow through.
Okay.
Please use that, our little link on our website, and give us some of those names so we can find a problem here, find the solution to the problem. We need to know about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Amanda McChrystal.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda McChrystal. I'm a Hazel Park alumni, resident, and Hazel Park Park Rat Stance coach. I love to be involved with my community. That is why last week I was at the girls' soccer practice. While I was there, the track team was laying on one side of the field, so the girls could not run their drills correctly. After multiple times, Coach Dixon asked the track coach, "Can you please remove your team from the field?" After being ignored, Mr. Dixon approached him and asked him to get the kids off the field nicely. The track coach completely went out of control, saying, "Don't make me mess you up in front of your girls." He continued to go on with this type of behavior in front of both teams. While observing this happening, our athletic director was standing right there watching all of this happen, and he did nothing. The track coach was completely out of line, and no one tried to stop him. The track team then started to harass the girls, calling them vulgar names and saying they were going to beat them up tomorrow. That's when I removed the girls from across the field. This is the kind of leadership we are showing in our schools that is okay to our kids. Those track kids displayed the same kind of action that their coach was shown. This is the second time this same coach and our athletic director displayed completely poor leadership. Our community is on the uprise right now. Our houses are going up. We have many great restaurants and bars opening up. People want to move to this city and raise their children here. When our schools have a bad reputation, those parents are going to take those kids 2 miles up the road to Royal Oak and Lamphere. Mr. Dixon was my coach and teacher in high school. He has built this soccer program from the ground up. I personally would not be the person I am today without him. I know Mr. Dixon wants to continue to be the girls' soccer coach. If you know him, you know he is extremely dedicated to our schools and that team. From what I saw during that incident, Mr. Dixon did nothing wrong that day. He is someone who has given a lot to our schools and one coach who does everything he can to try to get these girls scholarships. I feel, though, he should get his job back as a coach without being reprimanded as a coach and a teacher. Thank you.
Ashley McChrystal? Yes. Yeah. Can we please keep the side comments to ourselves, please?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley McChrystal. I'm a Hazel Park alumni and a community member. I'm here today to firstly discuss my concerns with the recent reports on various news stations about our boys' basketball team. As a former athlete, it is sad to see a school that used to thrive on professionalism and sportsmanship in its athletes to get to this point, especially after finding there were no repercussions to any of the parties that were involved in this incident. One question I have pertaining to this issue is why were there no repercussions? And furthermore, why is our school board okay with this? I have also recently been hearing about a coach of a team in our community who went and told their team members how terrible they were and walked out on their team. Yet again, there were no repercussions to this person, and they were able to attend practices and games as if the incident never happened. Another incident I recently heard about is the altercation that was on the soccer field. One thing I have to say about this incident is that Mr. Dixon should not have any repercussions for this incident. It was not his fault, and many other teachers at Hazel Park also give so much to our community. It is sad to see one of them getting disciplined for something that wasn't their fault. However, we choose not to give any discipline to parties who physically chase a referee after a bad call. I do not understand those choices and want to know why. Ultimately, I am here because I am disappointed in the leadership and the choices our administration is making when it comes to leadership and discipline in our schools. After reviewing the school board code of ethics, it says the main job for the school board is to represent our community. So tonight, I am asking you to listen to us and address our concerns, because if you don't respond to the community, we don't know you're listening.
We will have a respectful meeting. We're trying to make it through this long list. Mr. Kremhemler, I know your voice. Can you please keep your comments to yourself? Nothing.
What was that? What do you need to talk about? What does it mean? What do you need to talk about? You need to talk to me? We showed respect for Hazel Park. And you agreed with what she said. There's nothing wrong with that.
Excuse me. We are going to listen to the public comments, but we will do so respectfully. Or there is on here that we can have you removed from the meeting. Christopher O'Meara.
Good evening, board. Good evening, guests. I'm here to address some of the similar issues that have taken place at Hazel Park School. I myself, a 2007 Hazel Park graduate. In that time, I walked those halls with respect for my teachers, respect for my principals, respect for my coaches and athletic director. I have not witnessed some of the same respect in the last few years. I have recently resigned from my JV football coaching position at Hazel Park for a difference of views of the leadership in the district and in the building. I have recently had to remove certain names from my resume, my reference letters, because when you Google those names, you get a picture of somebody who is violently yelling on a basketball court. These actions are being witnessed by our students, our community, and these girls are not telling you anything that is not true and needs to be taken care of immediately. These actions are what our students follow. I am an educator, not with Hazel Park. I am a citizen of Hazel Park, and I grew up here proud to be from Hazel Park. There are so many changes taking place. These changes here are great as long as they continue. Some of the changes that should not be ever changed are respect, attitude, leadership, accountability. Where is the accountability for the adults? The students that follow do not have it. There is constant deflection and finger pointing elsewhere, blame being put to the side. These students need better leadership. That is all.
Denier Jenkins.
It's Denier Jenkins.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. My daughter Nancy goes to the high school. You all know me. I've been here before. I agree completely, by the way, with the gentleman that was just up here. I've seen it, the lack of respect for the adults in our building, okay, by the adults to the students, especially at the high school. It's lacking. This is great, the vision, but you have to put it into action and quit hiding things. We have teachers leaving this district, awesome teachers, by the way, okay, who go above and beyond every single day for their students. You're going to talk about them, I think, tonight. Miss Gaffa, Madame Ross, okay, I know them both. My daughter's had Madame Ross for 4 years. Ms. Gappa and Madame Ross, let's talk about great teachers that are leaving, I'm sorry, basically not quite the end of the year if you didn't look at the notes. One's leaving their last day, their last days are the 28th of April. Now, why would awesome teachers that go above and beyond for their students just up and leave before the end of the year? That's my question to y'all. Because they are awesome teachers. 4 years running, they've gone to national conferences for at-risk students. They've been invited to speak at those conferences because of how good they are with those types of students. Okay, both of them. Ms. Gaffa spend Saturdays and Sundays working with AP calculus students, preparing them for the AP test. Okay, Madame Ross goes above and beyond on a daily basis. She wrote her own curriculum for her French. She's constantly coming up with new and inventive ways to get the kids involved, even her French 4 students. Okay, she's teaching those to other teachers across the nation at this national convention, at the Oakland ISD. She goes up there and she works with other teachers, so does Ms. Gaffa. Okay, they're leaving their students. And I just told you how dedicated they are. Madame Ross and Ms. Gaffa are ears when their students need somebody to talk to. They've helped my daughter with scheduling, all kinds of different things, you know. Again, they go above and beyond. Ms. Ross, I'll give you a prime example. And this goes to this thing here about you're going to take care of all students that come here academically. No, you don't. And this is what I want you to think about as you're doing this. I'm not trying to be mean or disrespectful, but this is what I see. My daughter has been advanced her entire academic career.
Mm-hmm.
She's had to make choices.
Ms. Jenkins, you have 30 seconds left.
Ms. Ross took a student from French 2, she was a senior, had to have 2 years of foreign language, right? Required.
Mm-hmm.
But she was an AP English teacher. Guess what? Y'all can't even come up with a way to make our good academic students be able to take the classes that they need. She was having to make a choice. Miss Ross took her into her French 3 class, worked with her before school, after school. Why did they leave without, I'm asking you, why did they leave? Why are they leaving in the middle of the year?
These are personnel matters. We cannot talk about these.
Do you have an exit interview process?
These are personnel issues, and we cannot talk about them in public
so
comment.
you can't tell me if there's an exit interview process in Hazel Park schools?
We'd have to ask our HR manager.
Okay, because if you don't have one, it would be my suggestion. I'm a teacher. Every district I've ever worked in, many school districts have them, major corporations have them. Because something else I will tell you, the climate in this district for senior teachers is horrid. They're not going to say to you, but you might learn something from the ones that are leaving about what's really, really causing them to go and what the problems are. Because I can tell you at the high school, academics are not the number one priority, and that's what should be number one priority at a school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to remind everybody that we do have we have a lot of people speaking tonight, and to consider everyone's time. It is a 3-minute time limit.
I apologize.
It's okay, Ms. Jenkins. Deborah LaFramboise.
Okay. I don't mean to beat a dead horse because everybody said a lot of what I feel. The restorative justice program that we have in place, I have done a lot of research and I've seen that it can work. However, we are implementing it halfway. We didn't have enough money to do it. We don't have enough training to do it. We don't have everybody on board with it. If you research, we're not doing it right. Secondly, the policies that are in place make it very difficult for teachers to teach. Very difficult. The classrooms are disruptive. The students are rude. Disrespectful. And so it's very difficult, and I think our teachers do a fabulous job. And again, I have information that says 85% are looking for other positions out of the district. Our athletic program, which we've been known for 40, 50 years, is on CNN for a negative light. The policies that we had in place before, we didn't implement them, we didn't follow them, we had dress code policies out the window. We've had phone policies out the window. I don't even know how many other policies that were in place that we didn't back up. We didn't follow through. Of course kids think they can do whatever they want because we let them. Again, the staff, if they're not looking for another job, it's because they have 1 or 2 years left and they can't go anywhere else. They'd have to start at the bottom of the totem pole. They're going to buy their time in an unbearable situation and get out. And we're going to have no one vested in our district anymore. Our district was not phenomenal, but it wasn't bad. But I can honestly say that 5 kids, my last one is in 10th grade, the worst experience out of all 5 has been this year.
Corinne Greer.
Thanks, guys. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I come to you as a parent. We've lived here for 22 years in the school system. I've raised 3 of my children. My oldest daughter is sitting out there with her degree already. My middle daughter is in the middle of her criminal justice degree and has been on the dean's list the entire time. And my 3rd baby that is in the school district, who is a volleyball and soccer player, right now has a 3.96. I would call them successful in their education and their pursuits, but I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I did it all or my husband did it all. I'm going to tell you that there have been wonderful teachers and administrations who have helped be the success that these kids are in this community. Please, I'm begging you, I'm going to just throw the stupid thing out that I was even going to talk about because I'm just talking for my emotions. This restorative program, I know it has good, but I've also looked at some of the stuff and I'm thinking, we don't have the money and resources that some of the other communities have had where it's been really successful. So what I'm asking you, as our school board, you represent us. we've done our part, my husband and I, and our children in this community, to be successful, respectful. Every one of you know that not one of my kids have even had a time out in the school system. They have been great kids. We did it because we raised them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They got smacked by the, 6 and 7. They were getting grounded. But they're healthy. They're great kids. They're success. We need discipline that works as well. I'm not saying that we don't need to work with children who have issues at home and who have other things. God knows I know that. With the volleyball issue this weekend, you guys, I knew that the kids were doing their own thing, and I wanted to make sure that they were at least healthy. Michaela said to me, we're only, we're doing for ourselves. And I'm like, here's a basket of fruit because you got to take them up something. And these are your children. And these staff that you have, they have years and years of dedication behind them. Please consider that when you're doing reprimands on them. Consider the fact of who they are. I'm asking you, each of you board members, put out your names and your addresses to the staff so they can anonymously contact you. So it's not going through any, we're just going to leave that alone. I want them to be able to talk to you. I want you to hear their hearts. Please, we are a poor community, but we've had fantastic teachers, and we can take pride in that. Don't leave them on the sidelines.
Kim Mullins.
Get it, Mom.
At our last meeting, Dr. Krupe brought up something. You brought up you chose to opt out bringing in the numbers of suspensions and expulsions, and not one person questioned her on what those numbers were. And I wonder why you didn't question those numbers. Another number and I thought was a very high number, was the absenteeisms. And I want to know how many of those absenteeisms were half-day Fridays. I was told that we changed it to half-day Fridays because our teachers couldn't learn enough on an hour and a half. But I was also told that when our students miss one class, they are 2 classes behind. So now we are going to take our students and give them a half day, 6 classes for 36 minutes, which, let's take high school students, 5 minutes to get in and get ready, 5 minutes to get out and get them the bell to ring and get them out the door. So now we're down to 21 minutes. Now you take morning OTEX children, they get in the door, they have 1 class. So they miss 2 classes every other Friday. So they miss 4 classes every month. So if I go by Dr. Krupe's theory of they missing 1 class, they are 2 classes behind. My child is now 8 classes behind because she goes to morning OTEC and learns at a higher level at a morning class. Because teachers can't learn in an hour and a half of presentations on what we just seen here this morning, of somebody telling us that we didn't have qualified teachers. Now that we've hired an outside company to tell us that we had amazing teachers, now it's on a presentation, and now we have really good teachers because now Fidelity is telling us we're qualified. Thank you.
Howard Woods.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm here on the tail end because I'm here to commend Ms. Schultz Mr. Gold, because they helped my grandson very, very, very much. He had a discipline problem. And Mr. Gold, along with Ms. Schultz, took him to the side and gave him the mentoring that he needed. All these other incidents and so forth, I'm new at it. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that it'll be rectified. I'm hoping it'll be rectified because he's in junior high. And he'll be going to high school soon. One thing I'm very, very concerned about is that attitudes need to be taken care of. And the administration at the junior high school level is high on their game. I see Mr. Gold in the hall. I see Ms. Schultz in the hall. And it's always a happy greetings. When they see kids that are doing things wrong, they're right on top of it. This is what I have observed. And they didn't even know I was there. So, I think as parents, we should all come together and find a viable solution and get something done properly. Because these kids, they live at home, they get out of home, they come to school, they have no direction. So, we need to get together.
Andrew Kremhemler.
Good evening. I came here a week ago. It's nice to see everybody turn out. So I think I was the only one a week ago, but it seems like there's other people that got stuff to say. I came here a week ago, asked you a simple question. What are you doing? Going to continue in the direction or you're not? I'm talking directly to the school board members. If you do this, you continue in this direction, we're gone. Simple as that. So this is the families you lose. See if you guys recognize them, anybody. McKinley's, 60s, 70s. King's, 60s, 70s. Samers, 50s, 60s, 70s. Kremmelers, 90s. Limburgers, 90s. You want me to keep on with the list of last names? So what I would like to know is if we're going to continue down this path.
Yes.
Because to me, if the common sense part is gone in Hazel Park, I'm telling everybody, whoever supports that, you should vote them out. But I'm out of time because my son goes to high school next year. I'm out of time. I got to go. So you guys continue on this direction. Hazel Park's done. What she told you in the meeting, you guys weren't here. She said your social culture is broken, and she wants to fix it with restorative practices. That's what she told Hazel Park. I don't know this lady. I've never seen her before.
Mr. Kremhemler.
And what I want to know is from you school board members, my 3 months up.
No, I'm asking you to lower your voice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
What I would like to do is talk to you guys directly. You're from Hazel Park. How many more people got to come? How many more people does Rachel tell? She told me last meeting. Well, you can go to other districts. And Dr. Krupe said it twice to me. Well, you can, this might not be the district for you. Well, this district has been around for 100 years. We've been in for 70, my family. And I shouldn't be the one that leaves. But I'm out of time. So what are you guys doing? I'm asking you why you can't raise your hands. Or right here. Who supports or who doesn't? It's real simple. You guys have a nice night.
Thank you, Mr. Kremhemler. I would like to answer your question. This Board of Education does support our superintendent and the administration in the brave things that we are asking them to do. Tiffany Parrish.
We'll find replacements for you.
This is my first meeting. I have 2 older kids at the junior high and a younger one at United Oaks. Judging by what's going on, it won't be my last meeting. I'm not sure what's going on at the high school because I don't have kids there. But I do know that it seems like you all need a Mr. Gold at your high school too. Honestly, we we have a totally different experience from you guys, and it breaks my heart to hear so much going on when my experience is totally different. I do have a son that has gotten some phone calls home. He's 14. His father lives in D.C. I'm raising him by myself. I don't have the extra help that some parents have. It's just me. My threats don't work really well when it comes to Dad because he's 9 hours away. By the time he gets here, problem's over. So Mr. Gold takes care of it for me. He becomes a mentor to these boys that don't have anyone. And so I'm here to speak on that. I can't speak on everyone else's problems. But what I can say is maybe you guys should invest in having someone who actually cares about our children as much as we do in all of the schools, not just the junior high, not just Mr. Gold. Put someone there for, hell, have him hire him. He clearly knows what's going on. He keeps me in tune because your kids are not always going to tell you what's going on, especially at that age. So he does. I'm updated all the time. I can come up there. I can call. I know that they are okay when he's there. I don't call to speak to anybody else at the school. He can get the information from the teachers for me. He's the only person I go to. And so I hope that the high school can get it together. I hope that you all listen. I think that just because someone isn't speaking to you in a manner that you agree with doesn't mean that they don't have a valid point. And so I just hope that you all listen. I don't know if this is a board that's appointed or voted for, but if it is one that's voted for, then I suggest that you all use your votes wisely. Have a good night.
This concludes the names on the list. Is anyone else choosing to speak this evening? Mr. Nagy?
Rick Nagy, 119 East Annabelle. I heard everybody talking tonight, and they all have different issues. And you know what? Being a past board member, people have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. The confidentiality you have to keep behind closed doors, and what you can talk about, what you can't talk about. Many a times, I couldn't even talk to my wife about it. I had to call another board member. Yes, there's issues in this district, but you know what? There's issues in every district. I've talked to numerous people that are from this district that teach in other schools. Principals, assistant superintendents, they're all having the same issues. Can they be taken care of? I'm sure they can down the road. It's going to take some time. But as a district, the past administration, you've seen that we were kind of in a whirlwind. We were going downhill. We were supposed to be at a deficit. They came to us last minute. Of course, we weren't out of deficit. We were $5.6 million in the hole. We hired a new superintendent. 2 years, we've turned this district around, coming out of deficit. We have 3 years left. We don't have a choice. Just so you know, we don't have a choice in this district. There's 5 years. Her job is to get this district out of deficit in 3 more years. If not, there won't be no Hazel Park district, just so everybody knows that. So this board, thank you to the board and thank you to the administration and all the administration of the schools for their hard work, because people don't know the things that go on in the background and what the decisions these board members have to make. It's unreal. And the closed session meetings we had and the suspensions, we had so many suspensions, it was unreal. And you know what? Everybody always said about kids being out of the district. Every kid I expelled was from this district. They lived in this district here. So just so everybody understands that, that's exactly what we're going through. So you guys just keep up the hard work, the turnaround, and also, first time in my history, and I've been here, it'll be 60 years shortly. First time we made the Mackinac list ever in our history. Fantastic news. And thank you guys for all your hard work, because it takes a lot of work to get this district turned around, so.
Thank you, Mr. Nagy. Please,
everybody.
state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dreamer Anderson. I've been in the community 15 years prior to taking my grandkids into the school for 8 years, bringing them up. A lot of the children know I don't have anybody at the high school, but I address my love for them as well because a lot of these children have been raised up in the neighborhood before I even took on my grandchildren. I've always been active in the community. I've never been to a meeting since my daughter was 13 in this community, and now she's 27. So now I'm raising my grandchildren, trying to be a mother and a confidant to them and give them my all. In my household, education is the most important thing. Raise my 5 children with my husband, their stepfather, which I would like him to come and stand next to me, Barry Center, wherever he is. Because I mean, I'm here for a meeting for my granddaughter. And now I feel like I wrote something, but I'm talking to you from the heart. I'm not even going to read what I wrote. I just want you to know that everything is coming from my heart. My granddaughter is a 6th grader. When we were at Webb Elementary, we were a family. We raised our children from the kindergarten to the 5th grade as a family. Get to the high school, it's all kinds of nonsense. Last Wednesday, I got a call from Mr. Go. I love Mr. Go. His first day of school, I greeted him at 7:15. And when that man saw me, I introduced myself. He was getting the kids ready to get registered, and I began to assist this gentleman, and I had never saw him before. I'm always here. I'm always at the school 30 minutes early. I have broke up fights, and they were not my children. I have put myself in other family members' position and played a mother to students. And now I'm here for a meeting with my granddaughter, and she's getting a finger pointed at her. I'm all on Facebook being judged, and this is the things that I walk up in here to. We need to get it together as a community. And I'm asking the board, don't point the finger at me. Don't misjudge me when you see what's going on about Mariah, because you know what? Mariah has been there. She went into the swim team as a new professor, and she received 3 trophies, 3 before we walked out of there. I wasn't agreeing even for Mariah to be on the swim team. You know what her report card says? She has all A's, 2 B's. Never had a fight before. This was her first. I know she was wrong, and she's not an angel. That's why parents are in charge. Never will I allow my granddaughter to do something that happened, but it happened, and we need to work through it as a community. Save Mariah today. Don't penalize an A student for a mistake. Help me get her where she needs to be, like I put myself in other parents' shoes.
30 seconds.
No, we're going to do it. That's what we're here for. We have to make a change. Show these children that all of you sitting there, it looks like you got a little age like I do. We weren't raised this way. We had discipline in school. Consequence, yes, sometimes. But you can't take an A student and punish her and take a D student and pat her on the back when she's been kicked out. When she's been kicked out 2 or 3 times. No, you cannot. When she's been kicked out of school 2 or 3 times, and I get 1 phone call for her first. We need to work this out.
I agree.
My 3 minutes are up?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll see you when the meeting starts.
Thank you.
You'll get your time. Come on.
Hi, my name's Barry Center, and listening to this, I heard this gentleman say one thing that rang a bell, is that if a student or somebody makes a mistake, what do? You punish them? Or do you work with them to get out of it?
Depends which one it is. That's right.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yep, that's what it is.
Okay. No side meetings, please. Anyone else choosing to speak this evening? Yes, Ms. Jenkins.
I do want to apologize for one thing. When I use the term administration, I don't mean every administrator in every single building in this district. Certain young people here got a little attitude with me for saying that, so I want to clarify.
Okay.
In my personal, honest, humble opinion, we have one good administrator at the high school. I can't speak to the junior high except that I know Ms. Scholes personally, so I imagine that she's doing awesome because she always has been awesome. I have a grandson at United Oaks, and I think Mr. Brown is incredible. And if Mr. Gold and Ms. Scholes and Mr. Brown are here, then maybe if you can't get somebody else into the high school that besides the one we have that does a good job, maybe they need to meet with some of these other administrators and tell them what they're doing right. You know Mr. Brown does well. You know the junior high admins are doing well. So we've got them here, let them teach. So I just want to make an apology. I can't speak on any of the other administrators, so I don't want anybody to think I was being offensive to their building's administrators. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and
Hello,
address.
I'm Robert Kyleman. I live here in Hazel Park.
Okay.
I just got a quick
It's-
little thing.
It's Kyleman.
Kyleman, Keilman,
Thank you, just for the minutes.
for the record.
Thank you.
I'm seeing negative behavior being given positive reinforcement, if you will. I know that there's these bullying problems going along. I know we really can't do everything to fix it, but when you have the complaint of the same student doing something over and over and over, and then someone gets backed into a corner and stands up for themselves, and they're going to get expelled from what we hear, it's not a good thing to do. As far as I'm concerned, it's equal across the board, or just do away with it. Because if you could say sorry, shed a tear, and walk away, and nothing gets done with it, when they get into the real world and they got to go in front of a judge or courts and they shed that same tear, they're still getting that felony charge. It's
Thank
not
you.
gonna work.
Okay, I did allow Ms. Jenkins to repeat, but I'm, just for the sake of us trying to get through the rest of our agenda,
Okay.
30 seconds.
Okay, that's fine. I just have one quick comment. I just want to just like say that how proud I am of those soccer girls and all those kids defending Mariah, because that is bravery, and that is what
Mr. Kemhemler, 30 seconds. We have a long closed session to go into after this.
Well, I understand.
I understand.
I mean, you got stuff to do tonight, right?
Please, if you're going to be disrespectful, we will have you leave the meeting, Mr. Kemhemler.
What would you like me to do? I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
It's okay, we'll close public comment.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Is
what
that
you're
okay?
doing?
Yeah, we'll close public.
Okay, go ahead.
Close public comment. Motion to go into closed session. Support? Nope. Well, we're going into closed.
So I was once a witness.
This board is going into closed session. Who's Mrs. Hammond?
It's your job to listen.
Excuse me.
Excuse you. It's your job to listen. That's why we vote for you.
Huh?
You're not going to disrespect my daughter.
Officer Piper?
She's closing her new.
Keep
It's easier to close it, just call it a day.
Just keep talking.
We have closed the public comment. This board will go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yeah.
Hammond?
Yes.
Hinton?
I hope you guys don't buy your
Yes. Moves us back to an open meeting. We have consent agenda items A through D.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Do we have to make it here, or do we wait till we get to the item?
Till we get to the item.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlax?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Nothing under unfinished business. New business, we have our personnel recommendations. They're separated, so we'll go in order. The AFSCME union personnel recommendations.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Atkins?
Abstain due to conflict.
Schlack?
Yes.
No.
Yes. The HPEA personnel recommendations.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
No.
Yes. The HPPA union personnel recommendations.
So moved.
Support.
Discussions or questions? Roll call, please.
Atkins?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Mr. Hempel?
Abstain.
Mrs. Hempel?
Abstain due to a conflict.
Schlack?
Yes.
No.
Abstain due to conflict, motion passes. IUOE personnel recommendations.
Support.
Discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Atkins?
Abstain due to conflict.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
No.
Yes. On the unaffiliated employee or personnel recommendations.
That's what it is. So moved.
Support.
That was Mr. Hempel and Atkins. Discussion or questions on this one?
Is this the one?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
No.
Yes. This is to item B, the memorandum of agreement with the Hazel Park Education Association. There's a letter in our packet.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion, questions?
This is only a one-time deal.
This is only a one-time deal because the date of the letter being submitted was just a few days late.
Okay.
We wanted to give her the opportunity to have another year leave.
Yeah, one-time deal.
All right.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Item C, or IGA with the Ferndale School District for Transportation Management and Maintenance Services for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? That was
If I
Ms.
could just comment, this is a
Yes, Mr.
continuation
Renzo.
of, would be the third year
Mhm.
of working with Ferndale and overseeing our transportation department. That marriage has worked out very well. Our drivers have worked, are supervised by the transportation director at Ferndale. She does all the routing and dispatching, and the mechanic there maintains and repairs all the buses. What that does for us, though, is it allows Ferndale, or what it does for Ferndale is allows them to maintain full-time staffing in this position that they would have reduced otherwise. So it's our recommendation that the board continue this into the 2017-18 year.
Okay. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Item D, our Master Technology Services Agreement between Oakland Schools and the School District of the City of Hazel Park. Motion on the table?
So moved.
Support.
Discussion, Mr. Romzek, Dr. Krupi?
This agreement allows us to extend our agreement for our online systems, such as our MyStar Student Information System, our Illuminate system, which is our data collection system. You've been able to start seeing some of the data we're able to collect with that, as well as our financial HR software system and our internet. You will begin to see a transition soon into the new HR and financial software system as we will begin to do a transition.
Okay.
Is this only for 1 year, or is it
This is for
continuous
5
after?
years.
Huh?
This is for 5 years.
Okay, because that's, the main question is because it only shows a 3-year breakdown. and it only
Right, I
shows
provided
2.
historical information for a 3-year period, but this is actually an agreement the district originally entered into in 1999 and has been renewed and extended over the years. I don't know the history as to whether that's come before the board or not, because I can't speak to what previous administrations did. But this is a 5-year agreement for these services that are integral to our operations. This would also be subject to the approval of Treasury. So once approved by the Board of Ed, we would submit to Treasury tomorrow and ask for their approval of this contract.
Okay.
Okay.
The Illuminate product, as I understand, replaced the Pearson Inform product that was in place for a number of years.
Thank you.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Atkins?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlock?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Item E, approval to post position for additional online teacher.
As you know, we started the Viking Virtual Academy last year. It recently came to my attention that we have a large number of students, and we have a resignation in the program coming up at the end of April, but we need to split that into 2 teachers. And so I'm asking for us to have the ability to add another teacher for the remainder of the school year, so we have 2 teachers.
Motion. Support. Questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlock?
Yes.
No.
Yes. This is under item F, new classes.
So as we have been discussing, we are trying to expand the number of classes that we have so that we can bring back what we've heard is that we want to bring back as many advanced placement classes to our schools as possible, as well as creating some additional CTE opportunities. And at the same time expand some of our STEM opportunities at the elementary level. And so I've provided for you inside the packet some of the descriptions for the AP opportunities. All of these will be contingent on a couple things. One, that we have students that enroll. We do not have to have a huge enrollment, like full classes, but we do want to have some enrollment in the classrooms. And we do have teachers that are willing to teach these. Carla's been working with the school with this, as well as for the AP courses, as well as obviously if we come to a point where we're looking at we have a significant drop in student enrollment and or we have a financial issue and something turns at the state over the summer, then there could be issues for us. But we believe that we've already factored this in if the staffing is approved after this point. So one of the things is digital media web design. This class would be taught, and this also gives students the opportunity for an advanced placement opportunity as well in the school. Woodshop, our woodshop has never been approved for CTE credit, so this year Dr. Pastel has been working to get us the CTE credit so that students could get CTE credit. This will also give us a grant opportunity as well for CTE. AP Government, AP Biology, AP Human Geography, AP Psychology, AP Environmental Science. We're working to get all those AP classes put in place upon your approval. Project Lead the Way Computers at the high school. There's also an opportunity potentially for this to be an AP class as well for our staff, or for our students. Project Lead the Way Science at the high school as well. We've written for a grant. This will be an extension from the junior high Project Lead the Way, so that this would extend into the high school as well. Both Project Lead the Way Computers and Project Lead the Way Science, we would have to buy a bank of computers because we can't use the Apple computers. STEAMway Pathway Robotics we would be adding as well. Marketing and Retail at the high school for CTE credit. And then elementary STEAM specials, as we talked before, we would be eliminating the media at the elementary and putting in STEAM. And so we already have Mrs. Dellman working on that so that we would have a variety of activities inside there, such as coding, such as working with some robotics, such as working with Legos, and then moving our virtual classes down to the junior high. Questions for those? I'm excited about it. Looks great.
Yeah, we're really excited to get more AP opportunities back into the high school as requested by our community and parents.
I have a question.
Yes.
Will current teachers handle some of those classes?
Oh,
and
yes.
some will be new?
They have the first opportunity to do those, and I believe they've already been identified and talked to about going for training. And I think the one piece we don't have is the AP Environmental Science yet. They have first dibs. Other questions?
Looks great.
I also believe that some of them have taught them before, and they'll just be going back for refreshers. We will have to put money, so when we write our 31A grants or what have you, we'll have to put money in place for them to go to training to be paid for and take the classes over the summer. Because they have to brush up. So I'm looking for approval for these new classes to be put back into our curriculum for next year.
So moved.
Support.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Atkins?
Yes.
Hammond?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlock?
Yes.
No.
Yes. 2017-18 staffing.
So move with the exception that we remove restorative practice dean and change that to dean of students or dean of something.
Dean of torture.
Support.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Well,
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We've talked about it before.
I want to talk a little bit about the staffing, because I don't know that you've had an opportunity to look at the middle school. So we're asking for an increase of staffing. It's going to look a little bit different than what I'm asking for. So I'm going to ask for the ability to move staffing a little bit around in that middle school level, because we had asked for another math ELA teacher, and we're going to need to move that around possibly depending on where teachers land. We're going to be looking at changing our junior high to that middle school conference concept. So what this is, we've been working with Grant Chandler on this, and later this week I'm going to work with Tammy to have a conference call with Grant. And what this is going to do for us is give us the opportunity to allow our teachers to have planning periods at the same grade level together on a daily basis. And you can see that's a long extended time of planning period, and I'll show you in a minute. It will also allow for longer block periods for ELA and math together, and also give kids a daily intervention time for both math and for ELA. So what that will do is for our students that are struggling to have intervention time, our students that are in special ed or in EL to have a time, and then our students that are gifted or in the middle to have an enrichment time. So if you are gifted, you might be doing some high-level vocabulary or other pieces. If you're middle of the road, you might be doing middle of the road stuff. But every teacher will be seeing those students and have a time to really spend that time together. The other thing that this will do is have PE for them on a daily basis. You can see this down here. And that time will be split between PE and health. They'll need to have health and Project Lead the Way. So they'll also have Project Lead the Way all year long, and that'll be split with a block time with health. And then science and social studies, they'll have science one day and social studies the next day. So that'll be split up as well. Or the teachers could decide, I'm going to do a smaller thing of science one day and a smaller piece of social studies another day. They also will have an elective choice of media or art. And it is our hope to kind of reach out to you. We have a community member that is willing to come in and help us, and we'll have to look to see how we can do that to get our TV station up and running, and maybe help with the radio station. And so if we're able to find some funds to spend a little bit of money, about $5,000 to get that going, they're willing to come in and work with the teacher to help us get a radio station and get our TV station going up. And so we're hoping to incorporate that back into media. Which would be really great for the kids to get a TV station and get that radio station going, to have that training. So hopefully when they come to the high school, they would be able to do some of this themselves here with us and already be trained. So we're really excited to offer this. We have built in here lots of time so that all kids are able to have band, which is a sacred cow for us to make sure that everybody is able to get band, and in this schedule as well. The minutes were really important to us, because we wanted to make sure that with our scores that we were able to give a long period of ELA and math times, and so we have blocked 63-minute blocks, and so they'll have English for 63 minutes, they'll have math for 63 minutes, and then with their intervention time, that'll give them 96 minutes of good English and language arts instruction so that the teachers have a really good time to get there. And then science and social studies are 48 minutes. And band will have long sections when they have their band so that they'll have good rehearsal time in there as well. We hope someday we'll get to advisory. We're just not quite there yet. So we're really excited to do this and get this moving forward. Are there questions about that junior high schedule?
I just was going to comment that, you know, I had discussed some of these kinds of options with Mrs. Schultz, and she, you know, kind of reinforced that, you know, having longer times in certain subjects was a really great thing. And I think I might have been talking with Mrs. Dupes as well, you know, like having a long science, you could really do cool experiments. And I guess I wanted to reiterate that my daughter's in intervention this year and loves it. And I think it's a big hit with the kids. They're small groups, it's right size, and I'm glad to see that the interventions can
We'll
stay.
be really excited next month when we bring you the NWA to show that those intervention times, those scores have really gone up in the middle school. I'm really going to be really excited to offer things like vocabulary supplement and intervention for those kids that don't need intervention but have that higher functioning to get some really good vocabulary skills and other study skills in place for them, because we want that really highly ambitious instruction in place for them. So it's really great. So for our staffing requests, one of the things that, again, we've talked about, and Dan will talk a little bit about where the budget is and how we have that built in, is establishing that early fives classroom for those students that don't quite make the cutoff. And you know, we've started assessing those students to see if they can go into kindergarten. They've left our GSRP program or our 4-year-old early childhood program. They don't make the cutoff, and we've assessed them. They're not really ready for kindergarten, but to establish an early five classroom at Webb of about 20 students, where those students can go to like a developmental kindergarten. At the end of that time, if they're ready to go to first grade, they could go to first grade. If they're not, they could go to kindergarten. What this does is establish for us a really good sound foundation for kids for learning, and also maybe fends off those children from having to go into special ed or other at-risk programming, and it helps us catch them early. At kindergarten, we're asking for an additional 1.0, but we're holding that off for kindergarten. So you're going to hear me talk about this. I'm asking for it, but remember that I'm holding it based upon enrollment. So right now it's at United Oaks. Right now we believe we have enough for 2 classrooms, but we know that oftentimes that's the classroom that really pops is at United Oaks. So we want to be prepared like we were last year. If we won't hire for it right away, we won't place it right away, but if we have a lot of students that come at the last minute over the summer, that's where that classroom would potentially go. The same thing at 5th grade. Right now we're just a little bit over the edge for 5th grade for next year coming from the 4th grade. Given the number of classrooms at United Oaks, what we started to do is not accepting any more 4th graders unless they live in the United Oaks area. And saying, you know, you have to go right now to Webb or you have to go to Hoover to try to keep it at 2 5th grades at United Oaks. But I do have a 5th grade figured into the projection of staffing just in case. For EI, we have a 1.0 being held at the elementary in case that classroom expands. You were kind enough for us to go ahead and put in place an EI classroom at Hoover for behaviors. If right now we have only 2 students placed with a potential of a 3rd, and if we have more students that we need to place, we want to have that in our back pocket so that we can do that. Increased specials of 3.5. We don't know if that will happen that many, but just in case, we will be putting a full-time PE teacher at each of the elementary schools so that we have PE instead of once a week for each student, twice a week. We know we'd love to have it every single day. Our elementary students need to move. That helps them get moving, but for right now, 2 times a week is what we can fit in. That also includes us changing our media people to be STEAM people. So there will be some training again that we'll need to fit into our Title I or 31A budgets over the summer so that we make sure that they get going. And again, Mrs. Dullman is working on putting together that information. At the junior high, we have an increase of math, English, and science, and that was to get us to move to the middle school model. Once we look at the schedule and Tammy is able to sit down with me, we'll start looking at that. What we would really love to see is an increase of a 1.0 of a social worker. That's really, really going to depend on where we are with Title I budgeting. And that may be cut by the federal government, and so we're going to have to sit back and hold on that, depending on where those government pieces are cut. And we know federally they're talking about cutting some of those dollars, so we're going to have to really hold tight on some of those pieces. We're going to change this to a dean, and so our hope here is that one of the things that we're hoping is going to happen is that that person is going to be that front line to some of that first behavior that's coming in place, so that Mr. Gold and Tammy can be in classrooms most of the time, and that they can only get some of that high level discipline, and that's that first person that's going to hit the discipline in the school. We're feeling like we want to make sure that they're able to be in classrooms, affecting change of instruction more of the time. And we really love, they only have 2 Title I teachers, and so we'd really, really love to see that that they could have another Title I teacher, so that they have a Title I teacher for the 6th grade, the 7th grade, and the 8th grade instead of just having 2. At the high school, in order to change some of these other AP classes, we'd like to see an increase of 0.5 in science and 0.5 in math. We had a 0.5 college counselor placed in this year. We weren't able to fill that, so we're going to put that up there if possible. If our finances will allow that, then we are hoping that we'll be able to put that back in place. But again, Dan and I are going to talk with you a little bit about where we're coming in and what we have to look at with that $1.6 million mark that we have to meet. And we met with Treasury today. He's going to talk about that successful meeting we had and what promises that we've made to the state. As you know, we have to abide by that guideline. We'd love to make that 0.5 social worker there, a full-time social worker, but again, we've got to live within the guidelines, so that's if possible, if the grant money's there. And 1.0 title if possible. The high school doesn't have any interventionists, they don't have a Title I person, they don't have anyone there to support some of the students outside the guidelines, so it would be really wonderful if that works out and we have extra title money that we could put some title support in place to help if possible. So the total teachers that we have right now are 9 and possible 6.5. Now we do have some retirements that are coming through, and so if we see our student enrollment change along the way, we won't fill some of the teachers as they retire and they move through the summer. And as you know, as we did before, that's something that Dan and I will be watching very closely. Our enrollment can shift in and out. Any questions?
Was there a consideration for adding Title I for 4th and 5th grade?
Yes, there was, and that is not on there. So if the grant comes through, there'll be a consideration to add another Title I teacher in each of the buildings. But that's not on there right now just because we're not sure where the Title I grant would be.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hempel,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Hinton.
Yes.
Mr. Hempel,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Schlock,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Can I make one more statement?
Yes.
That what will happen now is that I will sit down with the principals and we will begin to talk about their thoughts, and then we will start talking with teachers and getting their thoughts and inputs. The principals will inside their buildings. Once they do their work inside the buildings, then we will let people know internally within the district what positions are open and they can apply internally before we look at any other pieces.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Motion on the approval of the second amendment to the 2016-17 general fund budget. Mr. Romzek?
The next 3 items in your agenda
So
are
moved.
related to the budget. The first is our recommendation for the budget amendment. This is the second amendment to the general fund budget. The first one was adopted on November 21st, and the original budget was adopted before the fiscal year began as required by law. So we have made some adjustments to the budget, both revenue and expenditures, and that information has been shared with you. We've had dialogue with the Finance Committee about this, and the Finance Committee endorsed our recommendation to adopt this budget amendment. So we're asking the board to do so at this time. This has been approved by the Department of Treasury. As you know, part of our financial recovery agreement requires the budget to be reviewed by and scrutinized by Treasury and approved prior to bringing to the board for adoption. So both this item and the next item have been approved by Treasury.
Okay. So motion to approve approval of the second amendment to the 2016-17 general fund budget.
So moved. Support.
Discussion, any questions for Mr. Romzek? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hempel,
Yes.
Atkins.
Yes.
Hinton.
Yes.
Mr. Hempel,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Schlock,
Yes.
no.
Yes. Then moves to item I, approval of the First Amendment to the 2016-17 School Service Fund budget.
The school service funds comprised of the center special ed program, the child care program, which operates the latchkey in the district, and the food services program. The budgets for child care and the food service are unchanged, but the center program budget did change based on enrollment and staffing adjustments that have happened since the beginning of the year. And so we're recommending this First Amendment to the school service funds budget at this time.
So moved.
Support.
Discussions or questions? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Hempel,
Yes.
Schlot,
Yes.
Hinton.
Yes.
Hammonds.
Yes.
Atkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel,
Yes.
no.
Yes. Item J, our 2017-18 general fund budget projections. Just an informational item. Mr. Romsek, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So I moved over here to drive the presentation regarding budget projections. It's appropriate at this time as we've now amended the general fund budget to start talking about the 17-18 budget. As you know, we're closely scrutinized by the Treasury officials. They were in the district today. It was a very positive meeting, about an hour and a half with Dr. Krupe and I, providing some in-depth interrogation, or let me put this a different way, in-depth questioning regarding the budget and the budget that they have approved, and some of the pushes and pulls that affect our budget. For example, we talked a lot about enrollment and how difficult it is to project enrollment in Hazel Park because of the many, many programs that we offer through our vendor alternative ed programs, through our alternative ed at the elementary and the secondary level, and our center budgets, our center programs as well. So we have lots of different places where enrollment is impacted beyond the three elementaries, junior high, and high school buildings. We had a very positive meeting with them. Part of that was to discuss the development of an updated financial recovery agreement that was approved by the board in July of last year. There are a number of measurables that we were required to, benchmarks we were required to hit as part of that agreement that we have now hit, and so it's appropriate to update that, which we anticipate will probably be an annual thing with Treasury as long as they consider us to be in financial distress. Even out of deficit potentially, we could be still be under their oversight as a early warning type of a district. But they continue to praise Hazel Park as a model for financial recovery, which is a good thing, and we need to continue that momentum as we work through this. So what this presentation does is it kind of projects out our budget from the current year that you just amended. In the middle column, this is amended budget showing a surplus of $1,040,000. We will reduce the deficit by that, and the deficit would be about $4.9 million. Rolling into next year, we project changes in revenue of $945,000, and I'll go through some of those key points, and increases in expenditures by $330,000. So the net increase to the deficit elimination would be $614,000. So our projected budget at this point today, based on everything that we know and even some assumptions of things that we don't know, because we don't know what enrollment's going to look like. We don't know what the state aid bill is going to be. We don't know a lot of factors, but we have some signs on a number of things and some basis for the assumptions that we've made. Shows us hitting a 1.656 surplus, which would reduce the deficit from 4.9 to 3.2 million. And then we still have 2 years to go before we're out of deficit. So beyond 16-17, we have the 17-18, 18-19, and 19-20 budgets to pay off that deficit and get us back into black ink down in the bottom line. And we're right on track with it, and the Treasury officials are very encouraged by the work that we've seen. As far as the school age legislation, this impacts the budget the most, is what's the revenue going to look like. The governor has released his budget. He did so on February 8th to a joint session of the state legislature that has not been legislated yet. The House and the Senate typically take up their own versions of the budget. Each year one takes the other. Each year one of them take turns on who's going to introduce the budget. So it's sort of like the president released his budget last week, but that has to go through the Congress in order to be approved. Well, the Congress, the House of Representatives is going to bring their version forward, and so is the Senate. And then from there, they'll work through a budgeting process. And it works the same way as the state legislature. But the first step in that volleyball game is the governor releasing a budget. And so that's based on revenue estimates for the year. And there's some positive things that we can anticipate if the governor's budget is adopted. But that's the best information we have today with regard to the budget, and that's what we're working for these projections. They're looking to increase our funding on a per student basis by $91. It's actually a range of $50 to $100 for districts, but Hazel Park would fall in that range where we would get the higher amount, which would increase our foundational allowance, our per student funding, to $7,815. In addition, the governor proposed something that we haven't seen before, where the governor's office and the state budget office is recognizing that it's more expensive to educate a high school student than it is to educate an elementary or middle school student. And so they are allocating, or the governor has allocated an additional $50 per student for the number of high school students who are enrolled in the district. In addition, there's a significant increase in the at-risk grant. First of all, allocating at-risk funds to all districts, because not all districts receive those funds currently, but also increasing that, and that would be almost a $300,000 increase to the district. So you hear us talk a lot about the at-risk grant around the table as you have board action. The at-risk grant is funding significant program supports, additional supports for our kids currently. Our at-risk grant is funding the behavior interventionists we have at the elementary schools. It's funding the one social worker per elementary school. It's funding a portion of Project Lead the Way. It's funding our preschool academy that's outside of GSRP. It's funding some alternative ed activities, some career and tech programs. So there's significant dollars allocated to 31A, which is the section of the school code that the at-risk funding comes through. And that's a big increase of additional funds available to the district, to be determined how we spend those, certainly. You saw some of those come through Dr. Krupe's staffing recommendation earlier. So that's, those are some of the key provisions on the revenue side that will come into play for next year's budget as of today. This is our best guess on March 27th. It is still the 27th. So on the revenue side, you can see the increase in revenue of $935,000, and there are a number of factors coming into play. First, we're projecting a decrease in enrollment, not because we actually saw a decrease in enrollment this year, but we're trying to take a conservative approach. As we reported last month, our supplemental count, which is the February count, the second student count of the year, typically sees a significant drop from the fall count. We didn't see that this year. It was about 10% what our normal drop is. That could be encouraging. There are a lot of positive things happening in terms of programming for kids, and yet we're still remaining conservative. Our fall to fall student count actually increased this year, but we're projecting that to be conservative at a 1% decrease. That it impacts $262,000. The $91 per student would generate additional $300,000 of revenue for the district. The $50 for high school kids would be the $73,000. Now that's not just the $50 for our students enrolled at Hazel Park High School, which is grades 9 through 12, but we also have grade 9 through 12 at our 4 alternative vendor alternative ed programs, our alternative ed program here in this building. So there are 1,400 high school students being educated by Hazel Park today, but only 900 of those are in the high school building itself. We also have some additional state aid for early childhood classrooms that are early 5 classroom. We would receive full foundational allowance. It's treated like a kindergarten classroom, and the funding comes through if it's a full day program for full foundation for students. It's currently not a class that we have in place, and so that would provide some additional revenue next year to fund that classroom of $156,000. The 31A increase I mentioned earlier, and some other changes that we anticipate. There's a one-time adjustment that, as you know, in this amendment that you just adopted for special ed funding. The way the state works is they assume our special ed costs are pretty consistent from year to year. and then they reimburse us and shore it up in the next fiscal year. Our costs went down dramatically from fiscal 15 to 16 because of our significant decrease in expenditures. We cut $6.5 million 2 years ago in order to right the ship. In doing so, that impacted special ed programs, and so those special ed costs went down. So there's a one-time adjustment this year that won't impact us next year. We'll get those dollars back next year as $488,000. PA $18 are the funds you get from the ISD countywide millage to help offset the cost of special ed services. And then we expect a decrease in a couple line items. First of all, we had the fire at the high school that did about $120,000 worth of damage. That will have an insurance claim that I'll file probably this week and get that reimbursed back. But the way the government accounting works, we have to record it as a revenue because it's money coming in. Because we had to add on the expense side $120,000 of expense in this amendment to pay for the repairs and the restoration and the cleanup that took place in that small fire that did extensive amount of damage to the high school building. So that'll be a decrease. Just a little bit of a decrease in the indirect costs from the center program, as that program, continues to adjust based on the number of students that are sent to our special ed centers, our 4 special ed centers that contain students from around the county who come into Jardin and Webb, SXI, and Edison Max. The district receives indirect costs, over $1 million of indirect costs from the program, so that'll adjust down a little bit because we'll have some a slight contraction of programming there. So overall, that's an increase in revenue of $945,000. We're certainly encouraged to see new money coming in the foundation allowance, especially 31A, which provides tremendous support for kids here, and getting some of that special revenue money back. So that's on the revenue side. On the expense side, we have an increase of $331,000. There are more pushes and pulls at play here. With on our spending, we estimate savings from 10 teacher retirements. There were 4 that you approved tonight. It's cheaper to employ a new teacher than it is an outgoing teacher. It's not to say that we lose all the institutional knowledge and the experience and the legacy programs that our retiring teachers take with them when they leave. But the reality from an economic standpoint is it does provide some financial savings. And so that we have to factor that in. In addition, the 9 staff members that you just approved in the previous agenda item would cost an estimated just under $500,000 of additional cost. So we have some savings from the teacher retirements and some additional costs for those 9 positions that we would be adding. The teacher retirements would actually, we're assuming full replacements of those 10 teachers. So we feel comfortable with that number of 10. I think we saw around 10 last year. We saw more teachers leave because of higher paying jobs and other opportunities than 10, but we actually saw the retirements, and those are the top of the scale teachers leaving. So that's what we have at this point. We'll know more, and we'll have another probably batch of teacher retirements. It's a normal attrition process here. For years, the board was offering early retirement incentive payments to teachers, which philosophically I don't believe in, because those are teachers who are going to retire anyway. And so we're just, it's not a prudent thing to do. And so that's not something that we are supporting at this time. We also have put an added line item in this budget projection of $400,000 for contract negotiations. So those of you who are listening carefully in our employee groups who we have yet to negotiate a compensation package for next year, we're setting aside some dollars in the budget to pay for those. It's not something that that other districts do, but we're very transparent. It's important to show our employees and to follow through on the compensation restoration that we've promised year after year. Remember, on average, employees in this district were cut by about 9% 2 years ago, and we also eliminated about 18% of our staff with the massive expenditure reductions we did. We did that on the promise of let us right this ship so we can continue in a positive direction in eliminating the deficit, but it's not unrealistic to set aside dollars to pay our employees. We have to be able to provide compensation adjustments for them. And so that those are dollars earmarked for that. As far as some other cost items, the retirement rate that we contribute to the retirement system will go up a little bit. That'll impact us just under $100,000. We expect an increase in medical insurance costs due to the increase in the statewide hard cap. Most of our employees pay a large portion of their medical insurance costs. And so under Public Act 152 of 2011, we're required, we're only allowed to pay X amount of dollars for employees' medical insurance. And then if those groups choose a plan of higher cost, then they have to pay the difference. The hard cap limits went up 3.3% this year. And so we have to increase the budget, the district's portion of that, by 3.3%. At-risk programs, you see the other side of that. On the revenue, you saw the $279,000 going in. On the expense side, we'll add those expenses. Those are required to be supplemental programs that we don't have in existence already. We cannot supplant, meaning we cannot take from the general fund and put it into the at-risk grant because it's called supplanting and it's against the rules for these grant funds. But over the course of the next 3 months, we will identify those at-risk programs that will be funded and we'll be flushing out the current year at-risk grants. So we'll have an idea of what those dollars will be. There were a number of expense reductions we did in the Second Amendment. You know, with this large adjustment from the state aid, we pulled some dollars out of line items of teacher supply line items and the buildings had access to, some professional development costs, and the curriculum dollars, those precious curriculum dollars that we've set aside to implement a full K-12 curriculum over 2 years, $148,500. This projection restores those dollars back to where they were at 16, 17 levels. It doesn't keep those reduced. A slight uptick in utility costs. Again, we don't know where electricity is going to go. Gas has been pretty stable the last couple of years, which is a good thing. But electricity is a little bit more fickle, especially on in the summertime, in the spring and fall with air conditioning throughout the district. We have, remember the line item where we reduce the revenue on next year's budget for the insurance proceeds related to the high school fire. Well, we've got $1 set aside in this year's budget to pay for those restoration and cleanup costs of $120,000. So that leaves us with, so that comes out of expense. And then this final line item are the dollars, the adjustments that we need to make to be determined of $450,000 to get us back to the $1.6 million surplus. We have to hit that mark. And it's our job, Dr. Kruppe's and my job, and yours as a board, to follow the enhanced deficit elimination plan that was approved by Treasury. If you don't, they will come and take us over. There's been a very high spirit of collaboration and cooperation. They feel that we're doing this the right way. We shared this presentation with them today, and we said, we know we've got some work to do in the budget over the next 3 months. This isn't, it's a bit of an art, and it also involves tremendous amount of work in really flushing out our programming and lots of factors. We may end up having more teacher retirements and bump that number up to 10 to 15, from 10 to 15. If that happens, then those expense adjustments end up going down because we have to hit essentially we have to hit a $330,000 increase in expenses in order to get that 1.6 surplus. Does the board have any questions regarding that so far?
Makes sense.
Okay. So what does this have any impact on the deficit elimination plan? Well, our current plan was submitted in July last year to the state. They approved it finally in December. Reflects the final results for 14-15 and final budget for 15-16. It's not even up to date with where we are in terms of our financial results. That was one of the conversations we had with Treasury today, was the farther out we get from that enhanced deficit elimination plan, or EDEP, the harder it is for us to catch that. Sort of like building a budget at home, 2 years ago, and then things happen over the course of your life, and you think your savings are going to be here, but they end up being different. And so one of the discussions we had, and we expect they'll probably put it in the revised financial recovery agreement, is requiring us to update the EDEP, which is not a bad thing. As we continue to work through this deficit elimination process, things are going to change. It doesn't change us, it doesn't give us a pass from 2020, we have to be out of deficit, but it allows us to update that a little bit more. So that current agreement spells out the terms and conditions for our ongoing operations. It requires Treasury approval for a ton of things. You heard me mention tonight, the contract with Oakland Schools will have to have their approval before it can be executed by Dr. Krupe. The budgets have to be approved by Treasury before coming to the board. Any settlements we reach with our employee groups, you know, we talked about contract negotiations in the closed session this evening. You know, we've set aside dollars in the projected budget for settling those contracts, but we have to have their approval before we can bring that to you to adopt that. So not only do the employee groups have to approve it, Treasury has to sign off on it, and you have to sign off on it. So there's a delicate balancing act that comes into play there. They're not going to let us give away the farm, because all they care about, you know, as much as they love seeing the work that we're doing on the district turnaround in the academic achievement, all they care about is getting above 0 in 2020. And the people that we've talked to today, one is a former special ed director from out of state who gets it, who gets the instructional program, you know, probably more than he gets the financial side of things. And so it's refreshing to have them understand that the two go hand in hand. We have to increase our programming, we have to provide a rigorous curriculum, and have good, solid teaching and learning happening in our schools to increase student achievement, to bring people back, to increase enrollment that will feed the budget. So it's sort of like the opposite of a spiral, downward spiral, but it's an upward spiral. The two feed one another. A financially healthy district allows a district to provide more programming and services for kids and bring back some of those lost programs that have been cut years and years ago, because we can afford to do those now. But we have to get out of deficit in order to do that. So there's a lot of red tape involved with this EDEP process. I do a monthly submission to the state of cash flows and financial reporting. That's something that is posted on the budget transparency page on the district's webpage. If the community is interested in looking at those documents, that forecast information is sitting there in a site called Munetrics. You go on the home page, there's a little gray box in the top right-hand corner of the website. You click on that and all this data is there and more. All of our contracts are there, our labor agreements, all of our budget information. There is a strong spirit of collaboration with Treasury, and I can't underscore that enough. You know, we don't feel like they're the big bad wolf trying to do a gotcha with a giant club. They're here to try to make sure they want us to succeed as much as we want to succeed. In fact, as they're in their discussions with other districts, they keep using us as a model because they feel like that collegiality and that collaboration is there, because they're working with districts who are pushing back and saying, you know what, no, we're XYZ district, we're just fine, it's our local control, we've been in deficit forever, we'll be in deficit forever, leave us alone. And Treasury is struggling with those places because there's pressure from the legislature and the governor to fix those situations. We've actually seen 2 school districts in the state basically vaporize because of their budget deficits. Inkster no longer exists as a school district. Buena Vista no longer exists as a school district. Both have had significant deficits well over 5 years. And we've been in deficit for 10 years. So we need to play nice in the Treasury sandbox, or they could very easily absorb us, force us to close our doors and merge us into another district, perhaps. We don't want to get to that point. That's not why I'm here. It's not why Dr. Krupe's here. It's not why you brought in the resources that you did 2 years ago and took the steps. We've had site visits from Treasury, one in May last year, another one just today, and we continue to discuss them. And did I say we have to be out of deficit by 2020? Okay, good, because I didn't know if I said that enough. So here's where we are with our deficit elimination plan. So let me just explain what you're looking at. This is 6 years of budgets. 14-15 and 15-16 are our actual results this year. This was the year that we arrived in March. Our spending was at $43.3 million. The next year, it dropped by $9 million. We went from increasing the deficit by almost $2 million to decreasing the deficit by $2 million. It's a $4 million swing there. In addition, our revenue went down. There's a $5 million decrease in our revenue because we right-sized the ship. We're now in a trajectory positive budget surpluses over time. This year was a little bit down because of that state aid adjustment with special ed, but we're going to be right back on track with that in 17, 18, 18, 19, and 19, 20, because the goal is to have this be a black number in 2020. And we're there, we're on track with it. This line here shows the approved EDEP, what the measuring stick was back in July of 16. So at that point, they said we would be at a 6.4 surplus, or a deficit. We ended up beating the budget by $440,000. Remember how nice that was? Because we thought our budget was going to be a smaller surplus than it actually ended up being. We try to do conservative budgets. We like to have positive variances because that allows us to get out of this hole faster and restore programs. So these are in millions of dollars. So this is a difference of $12,000 on a $36 million budget. This is a difference of $5,000 on a $37 million budget. Make sense?
Yeah.
These other slides are just graphical presentations. The 5-year forecast has a number of factors in there in light of time, and that we've been at this for almost 5 hours. I'm not going to go through these slides, but they're there in your board packet, and I'd be happy to entertain questions the board has. There's state aid per student and what's projected in the yellow, our enrollment, what's projected for the next few years, and our general fund revenue expenditures. This is a really important slide if you take nothing away. Here's where the history was prior to 2015 when you hired Dr. Krupe, when you hired me to come into this district. We were spending, the red line is we were spending more than we were taking in, the yellow line. If you take away nothing more than this, we had 1 year of positive budgets with surpluses over the last 10 years. 1 year. Now, granted, you could look at the enrollment slide and you can see a massive free fall of enrollment. And the board was working hard. Chuck, you were on the board at the time. Rick was, I don't know if he's still here or not, he was too. You were trying to cut as fast as you could cut, and it wasn't fast enough. We were losing 500-600 kids a year.
Right.
So that's hard to recover from. But we're on a trajectory now, starting in fiscal 16 and moving forward, where our revenues are above our expenditures. The only way for us to dig ourselves out of deficit is for that to be a positive delta between those two. Does anybody have any questions about the budget?
Looks great.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you for taking the time to explain it to us in layman's terms, because I know how complicated it is.
I appreciate that, and I know, I'm sorry if I rushed through it. I know the hour is late, and there still are other things to talk about. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Great
you,
job,
Mr.
Dan,
Mayor.
thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Item K, our curriculum update. So it looks like summer school.
Yes, Dr. Postel is not able to be with us this evening, so I am Dr. Postel.
Hello.
And we're asking for your approval on our summer school programming so that we can get this up and running and get this out to students in a timely manner to get our summer school programming together. So as you know, we expanded our summer school programming to our students last year, and we are once again asking to expand this so our students have a variety of opportunities to get credit. So we're going to start with our high school summer programming, and our first piece is that we're going to offer this for 5 weeks, not 6 weeks. Thank you, Mrs. Atkins. We clearly were having issues here. And we're going to offer 3 different kinds of programming. One will be the Bridge program, again, where we are looking to bring over our 8th graders into the high school. We found that to be very helpful to some of the students that are having difficulties in the 8th grade in the area of reading and math. And we'll bring that over so that they can get a jump start on being high schoolers, so they'll have an opportunity to have face-to-face classes with teachers in the high school and give them a jump start at being successful in the high school. We additionally will have 5 to 6 credit recovery instructors available so that we can do some credit recovery. And Jean Erickson, once again, has offered to be our summer school coordinator and our credit recovery coordinator, and she does a fabulous job getting us going. We also are going to have 3 to 4 face-to-face classes. I'm not sure which ones we're going to do yet, but we're real excited. Robert York's agreed to come back again. Kyle Rowley has agreed to come back, and then we have 2 other teachers that will be pulling in. They haven't decided which classes they're going to offer, but we're excited to have 3 to 4 classes. I believe we had 2 last year. So we'll get those in so students can come in. They have a wide variety, and we'll get those out to individuals so that we can get those going. Any questions about the high school?
If I could just comment, did these summer school programs are funded through Title I and 31A.
And in
Great
other school districts, students have to pay large sums of money. Last year, I believe we did it for $10, so that there was some dedication to coming, but they're not having to pay $100 and $125 as other school districts have, so that it makes it accessible for our students in our community to be able to pay, and make a dedication, but at least attend classes to get extra credits during the summertime. Our junior high summer school proposal will run for 5 weeks again. It'll be from 8:30 to 11:30. Mr. Mylart will be the summer school coordinator, and we're going to ask that 4 teachers will teach reading and math, and the students will take 2 90-minute classes of courses of reading and math. This will be Title I dollars again. It'll give them an opportunity to supplement their reading and math during the summertime. They'll be offered free breakfast and lunch at each school, just like they were during the summertime last year. Questions again? Our elementary is going to look a little different. We have some additional things that we would like to do. We're going to be looking for 5 to 6 teachers at the elementary. We're going to be doing a little different pieces than we did last year. We're not going to do the end of the year. We didn't find that we're going to do it in one building as opposed to do it in all 3 buildings. We didn't find that to be as successful to get as many students. We're going to have a Title I intervention camp, and we're going to utilize our data that we've received to determine who are the intervention students that will be able to go from K through 4. Our 5th graders will go to the 6th grade, and so we'll have an intervention. And then we're also going to do a literacy enrichment camp. This is one of the pieces that I got from being able to go to Washington, D.C. and attend that workshop from Scholastic. And then the literacy camp is for any student to be able to attend, and some information will come out to that so the students can come and work on reading over the summertime so that we can enrich other students and have the opportunity to attend summer school as well. More details will be coming out from that. Our literacy consultants had an opportunity to do an online training about Lit Camp. I'm hoping they'll be able to do, they actually had churches and other groups come in and set up the school like a campsite so the kids could practice and play and be really excited about reading. We want to keep our reading going forward. The other piece that we do want to do is a Jumpstart kindergarten program that will run the week before the start of the school year, so that our kindergartners will be able to come into their schools and get adjusted, start coming into kindergarten and do some literacy skills a week beforehand so that they have a chance to get into their classroom and feel comfortable into their school before kindergarten. Any questions?
No.
Great. We're looking for approval so that we can start planning, getting information out to parents, hiring the teachers of our summer school programming.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
No.
Yes. This is on to item L, our enrollment update. Dr. Krupe?
We have our enrollment update inside the packet for you to just give you an idea where we are in each of our schools at this time. Give it to you on a monthly basis.
Any questions at this time, board?
So moved.
It's an informational item. Thank you, Mr. Hempel.
He's delusional.
He's delusional now.
He's delusional.
Ah, all right. Yeah. Our Hazel Park Youth Assistance sponsorship, item M.
Yes, we received the request for a $1,500 sponsorship to youth assistance, and I'm requesting at this time that we authorize our business office to pay this.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hempel?
Yes.
Hammonds?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Hempel?
Yes.
Schlag?
Yes.
No.
Yes. All right, that moves us on to board member administration comments. Anybody would like to comment before we go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all the girls for coming out and standing up and saying what they had to. I'm proud of all you guys for doing what you feel right. Other than that, have a good night.
Have a good night. Yes, Mr. Ramsey?
I just want to acknowledge another real positive audit that we just went through with the State Department of Ed on our Title I, Title II programs. This is about $1.5 million the district receives every year, where we have been on not just a watch list, but on a critical watch list with Department of Ed because of the way we were handling those grant funds. prior to 15-16. The fiscal auditors came, as you know, we spend about $40,000 a year on a third-party audit firm to do specific procedures on our title programs because we were out of compliance in those grant programs for so many years. There were so many findings in our annual audit. So what we're trying to do is divorce ourselves from that process, but in order to do so, Department of Ed needs to do a fiscal review to determine whether or not procedures and policies are in place, and the safeguards are in place to protect those grant funds and spend them appropriately. So last week, we spent 2 days with auditors from the state, and they went through 9 areas of review. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just in terms of all the requirements, financial requirements associated with these federal grant programs. We went through those with flying colors. There are a couple of exceptions that we'll address accordingly that were somewhat outside of our control. But the bottom line is we have fixed these problems in these title programs, and the Department of Ed is going to see that when that report is issued. A huge vote of thanks. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired. I've been here since before 7 o'clock. But huge acknowledgement goes to our finance manager, Josie Petita, who is not here. She's on vacation. She led that process. She works closely with the curriculum office and making sure that a lot of the time accounting reports are in place. She feverishly works through these grants on accounting, transaction by transaction, payroll by payroll, to make sure that it's right. She and Dr. Krupe work closely together in writing the grants to make sure we're maximizing those funds, to maximize the program impacts for those grants. And this is a huge win for us in terms of trying to turn this place around. As you know, you saw the findings from the auditors. We had the auditors tell us in 2014 audit that there were just so many findings, they just stopped counting. And we stopped that issue in 15. We had no findings this past year in the financial audit. And then again, a very clean audit from the MDE. So I wanted just to acknowledge that publicly because I want this community to understand, and you understand, that we're working hard to follow the compliance requirements of these highly complex programs.
I'm impressed you remember all that.
Yeah. I'm really excited that I received an email from Mr. Gordon today from the counselor's office that so far our seniors have received $1.5 million in scholarships for to date, and I think that's really exciting for our seniors. That's way above where we were last year. So $1.5 million. That I think we were what, 300,000 last year?
Yeah.
So really proud of our seniors at the high school, and then we appreciate the feedback tonight. And those were notes that we were taking and thinking through. You know, we've been take that very seriously as we're working on our turnaround here. Those are pieces. This is a whole puzzle as we continue to put it together and work for Hazel Park to continue to grow and grow as an administrative team and support our teachers. We support our teachers 100%. They are a fabulous group. Our secretaries, our custodians, maintenance, paraprofessionals, and our board, who has worked really hard for the last 2 years. You need to get a lot of credit. This is our longest board meeting, I believe,
This
that
year.
we've had since I've been here.
You just wait 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
No, let's get out before that. But we will continue. This is a work in progress, and we know, right, that it's a wave when we're going through change.
Yeah. We thank you, all of you soccer ladies, for staying with us. We hope that you understand. If you have any questions, to always come forward and ask us. But unfortunately, it is a topic that we're not allowed to talk about. But just so you know, we did not fire your coach. He can come back, just so you know. Okay? Motion for adjournment.
So moved. Support.